Well, I would say that Marshall Cavendish Education is an educational solutions provider. We are a homegrown company based in Singapore. We have been doing textbook publishing since the late 1960s, and we have been in Singapore for the last 60 over years. So we've had quite a lot of experience developing textbooks for the Singapore market. And in the 1990s, we had the opportunity to expand overseas because of the good reputation of the Singapore education system. So we see ourselves as, I guess, carrying the Singapore flag as we go overseas. We sell to more than 80 countries throughout the world, and currently we're very strong in Southeast Asia, but we've also sold as far as Latin America, the US, Canada, or even to Azerbaijan. So our customers are generally the end consumers are generally the teachers and the students, but in most countries we actually engage distributors who act as our partners to promote our materials to the schools. In some countries, we actually work with the governments themselves. So, for example, we have worked with the ministry in Chile, in Brunei, in Mauritius, and in Azerbaijan. We are very proud that last year we actually became an endorsement partner of Cambridge International, and we are the only company outside of the UK to be given that status of endorsement partner, which to us is I guess testimony to the good work that we have done and the quality of the materials that we develop. We see ourselves as offering a holistic education system. Today, textbook publishing is no longer about the print books. Teachers and students need suggestions for interesting lessons. They need interactive digital resources. They need professional development, especially many teachers that are outside of Singapore, because they are not as they do not have the privilege of being as well trained as Singapore teachers. So we see ourselves as helping to raise the educational level, carrying the Singapore flag and raising the educational level worldwide. Educational publishing is very related to what's happening in the schools. If schools are affected, if schools are disrupted, then obviously our business will be affected. So I would say that our business in Singapore has been relatively stable. I think the Singapore government was very quick to respond at the onset of Covid-19. Schools were closed for a relatively short period of time. And during that time, we noticed a sudden surge in requests for digital versions of our print textbooks. We worked very quickly with MOE, we worked very quickly with schools to respond to these requests to convert our print content into ebooks so that teachers could do home-based learning. Retail was obviously affected because bookstores were closed, and even after bookstores were open, buying has not been the same as before. But I would say that the business in Singapore has been relatively stable compared to what's happening overseas. In many parts of the world, schools remain closed, and in fact, many students have missed an entire year of schooling. And in some parts of the world, although schools opened when the COVID-19 situation seemed to improve, many of them actually closed again when the situation worsened. So in that sense, our international business has been adversely affected, because if schools don't open, then there is no need to buy books. If there is so much uncertainty in the opening or closing of schools, then committees are not going to convene to decide on new textbook programs. So in that sense, we had that the impact was adverse to us. However, just like in the Singapore market, we saw an uptick in the increase of digital usage. Because teachers have to deliver their lessons online, so obviously they needed our materials in digital form. They needed interactive materials as well to engage the students, because it is now even harder to engage the students as before when things were taking place in the classroom environment. So we had to deliver our services and offerings in a very different manner. My team in particular had issues because a lot of us are working on using desktops because our creative team needs very powerful machines. So that was a concern for us. I remember that suddenly BCP plans became real. Before that, it was like just something that you write on paper. I'm sure my bosses shouldn't hear this, but it became very real, and I remember spending a lot of time communicating to the team as to what needs to happen if we are all called to work from home the next day. I remember nagging at them to learn how to use the company's video conferencing software. But what was a very pleasant surprise to me was that when the call to work from home came, things were very smooth. People seemed to know what to do, and we very quickly transited into using video conferencing, and it was not as chaotic as I had imagined it to be. What I really thought was an achievement was we actually managed to win 4 tenders during this time. That was amazing for me. In some ways, I felt that collaboration was actually more effective and more productive while we were all working online via a video conferencing platform. We could give immediate feedback, changes could be made immediately, we could see the changes that were made on the spot, and in that sense that increased that sense of teamwork and collaboration. I think there are three areas in terms of product development, in terms of customer engagement, and in terms of I guess management of the team. In terms of product, we very quickly converted our print content into ebook formats to allow teachers to deliver the lessons online. In many parts of the world, schools were closed and still are closed, and students cannot access the books because they are in the schools, and therefore this also allowed them to be able to get access to the print content that they would otherwise not have access to. At the same time, we also very quickly gathered and organized our interactive digital resources into our very own online platform called MC EduHub, and that now increases the convenience for our customers and educators to be able to access all our interactive digital content through a one-stop location. So that's in terms of product, I think something that we've done very quickly to respond to the needs of the market. In terms of customer engagement, obviously we could no longer meet our customers face-to-face. So all this customer engagement moved online. We offer, as part of our services, professional development for teachers, and that has transited online. We've done quite a lot of webinars for teachers, for teacher training. We are also looking at we have actually also partnered NTU in an upcoming course to offer short online courses for professional development of educators. And the first course is actually called Developing Effective Online Lessons. So I think that's something that our educators will really find very useful during this period of time. And finally, in terms of team management, I think the working apart actually has changed the way some of our managers view staff management. I've heard from quite a number of managers that management has moved more towards management by outcomes, because it's not possible to see the staff every day. and therefore it's there has been more empowerment, because I guess we are all more conscious that we don't see each other. So there was a greater tendency to want to check in on each other. The market has changed, our customers have changed, but the situation is still evolving. We have to keep our ears to the ground and be able to constantly adapt and evolve, and to be able to respond fast as the changes happen. Digital is definitely here to stay. I think the challenge for many educational publishers is how to monetize the digital resources that we have developed. So far, our customers have expected the digital resources to be given free together with the print programs. And whether this increase in digital use will result in new revenue streams for us, which we all, of course, hope to have, or it will mean increased investment with no returns, I think that's something that this balance of being able to justify that digital investment with continued business sustainability and viability is something that we have to tread this, I guess, very thin line. I mean, if the company has to be adaptable, then our staff definitely have to be flexible and be willing to adapt, especially during these challenging circumstances. Difficult times calls for new solutions, and therefore creativity is definitely a trait that would become more and more important. At the same time, I think Singaporeans tend to look, or Singapore companies tend to look a lot for technical skills. Increasingly in the 21st century, soft skills will become more and more important. I think communication skills are something that I would think is very important. It's something that I see that a lot of our team members struggle with. I think it's something that certainly I would think is an important skill to have and to master and to improve. And finally, I think that resilience is underrated. I think there's been quite a lot of research in this area in the last year or so. Given that times are difficult, I think it's important that team members, employees have that resilience to try again and again. I mean, if one idea fails, try again, and if the next idea fails, try again until you get one that works. After all, every mistake is a learning, is an opportunity to learn. I think there have been a lot of articles that employees now prefer to have a hybrid mode of working, and our own staff survey shows the same. So I think the hybrid mode of working is here to stay. Given that managers no longer have the opportunity to see their staff so regularly compared to before, I think it's important to set very clear objectives and outcomes that we want the staff to work on, and then empower them to do so. And I think secondly, it's important to engage our team members regularly, because after setting the objectives, obviously we have to make sure that they have the necessary guidance and support. And it's easy to forget that when you don't see them. Finally, it is sometimes difficult to see yourself as part of a team when you are not together. So I think it's important to get the team together, to have the team to bond as one, so that staff members see themselves not only as an individual but as part of a team. In a hybrid mode of working, we definitely will get to see each other less often than before. It is easy to take the, easy. It's when it's out of sight, out of mind, you forget, and then one can become very task-oriented. So it is true that it's important to show at this point in time more acknowledgement to staff. I remember that during that, we've worked from home for almost a year, and even during that time, even I myself sometimes at times wonder, does anybody know what I'm doing? Does anybody know that I'm working so hard? And I think it's important to recognize the staff, whether it's through our communication or to be able to give little tokens of acknowledgement. So during this period of time, some of the things we did included having the managers nominate staff, and we would give them little vouchers in recognition of their efforts. The company also sent care packs, and we also sent lunch boxes. And it was amazing how the staff actually responded. I saw comments on WhatsApp and on our video conferencing platform, chats. So just for that little token, the staff were really so appreciative and happy, and I think it's really something that we should do more often. I think COVID-19 has certainly shaken things up. Our business has been adversely affected in some way, but we also see opportunities in this crisis. We definitely see an uptick in the use of digital resources. Even before COVID-19, Marshall Cavendish Education has constantly offered within our textbook program digital resources as part of the textbook program. This has always been a criteria for textbook selection in the last, I would say, 1 to 2 decades. But the use of these digital resources have been quite inconsistent in the schools. Some schools use them very extensively, others don't. During this period, we definitely see an increase in usage. And it's something that in our future upcoming textbook programs, we definitely will have to continue to offer these digital resources. What is interesting to me is that the format of these digital resources might have changed. Even before COVID-19, we actually offered e-books to our schools who adopted our textbook programs. And at that time, I heard many times from our sales colleagues that schools actually say, please, there's no need for e-books because we already have the print books. What's the point of giving me another version? And so we had made the decision that we were not going to give e-books anymore. And then COVID-19 came and changed everything. And suddenly schools were saying, please give me the e-books. Before COVID-19, schools were actually asking for interactive digital resources. And I believe that this is something that they will continue to want because that would enhance the teaching and learning, that would make teaching more interactive and engaging. And that's something that we will continue to have to offer, and which is why we are putting everything now onto a single platform in our MC Edu Hub so that teachers can very easily access the content anytime, anywhere, and from one single location. And the third is that before COVID-19, we did a lot of workshops for teacher professional development, and these were generally face-to-face workshops. And during COVID-19, obviously, all this was not possible. We had to transit to an online platform. But what was interesting to me was also that the webinars were actually more well attended than the face-to-face workshops, and obviously at a cheaper cost as well. So I think that's something, again, another plus from what's happened in COVID-19. And we are still constantly looking for more solutions to offer professional development, and to this end we have partnered NTU, the Nanyang Technological University, to offer short online courses for teachers. And this will come with a certification from NTU, so which I think is something that would not only offer convenience to our educators, but also certification from a very credible institution.